I built this automatic cat self-groomer for $35 out of cardboard and those wire brushes you can get on Amazon. It was my greatest invention so far. And that's when today's sponsor, Paw Swing, found that video and basically said, we already solved this. So let's see if it actually does what it says and if it can outperform my $35 DIY solution. So first, take a look at this sofa. No, that's not my sofa growing hair. That's what it looks like every morning. I have 4 cats and one of them, Rosie, is basically a living lint roller in reverse. She walks past something and it's just coated. So 1 month, 4 cats, 1 small apartment, and a result I genuinely did not see coming. In the left corner, my DIY groomer, corrugated cardboard, wire arches and bristles, a lot of cable ties, and genuinely zero engineering credentials behind it. It cost me $35 and an afternoon of browsing the Korean version of Amazon. But weirdly enough, this little thing worked. Sort of. And before this experiment started, I upgraded it. Tightened the bristles, added a silicone hair catcher, as I was not going into this unprepared. And in the right corner, the PawSwing Neo, $200, and it looks like someone who was way too enthusiastic about cats would have in their apartment. Assembly is pretty quick, I'll give them that. And in practical terms, it works like this. The cat walks in, and the mechanism gently pushes against their body while loose fur is grabbed and pushed into a small collection container inside. Each of these modules have small silicone teeth that gently brushes the cat's fur and are apparently modeled on research into cat tongues. And PawSwing calls this a bionic tongue. And honestly, fair enough. The outer shell is also a felt cat house that just replaces a regular cat bed or cat lounge. So the footprint is very similar to other cat products. Fair warning, setting up a rigorous experiment with 4 cats is optimistic. These are not lab conditions. This is a 600 square foot apartment with 4 animals who have zero interest in my scientific method. My DIY box had a head start as the cats were already used to it, so I put both devices in the same general area and let them coexist for the full month. I opened the PawSwing entrance to the largest setting. It also helps to make the inside quite comfortable, and then waited. Cats naturally want to go into boxes. That's just physics at this point. It didn't take too much effort. But as I narrowed the opening over the next week or so, sometimes it did seem like it did deter them from going in. And when that happened, I just made the entrance a little wider for them to have a little bit more time to get used to the gentle push of the entrance. About 2 weeks in, I narrowed the opening to the smallest setting, and most of the cats were relatively comfortable with it by then. The PawSwing does include a silicone bowl to put inside as a lure, so you can put snacks or food in there. My cats didn't really need it, they just needed to believe it was their idea. My DIY box was still seeing frequent use, luckily. Rosie, who is the whole reason this experiment exists, took to it immediately. She is the #1 target of this operation, and she is cooperating fully, which is more than I expected. Now, before I get into the results, after using the PawSwing for about a month, I do have a couple of nitpicks. First, it only has 1 entrance. In a multi-cat home, a single entrance means a cat can feel cornered during sudden accidents or noises, or during a spat between other cats. They cannot move through and exit on the other side, which is why on my DIY box, I look for boxes that had 2 openings. A second combed opening would give them a cleaner escape route and also promote more movement through the box and thus more grooming. Also, while the interior is roomy, it needs a little bit more padding at the bottom. If this is supposed to be a cat house, it should be more inviting for them to sleep in. I ended up adding my own cushioning to make it work as a real cat house or a cat lounge. But those are my main complaints. The build quality and the adjustable mechanisms seem solid. Also factor in the $45 replacement combs every 6 months if you're following their guidelines. It's time to open these up. So let's check the DIY box first, and it caught some real fur. I built this out of cardboard and wire brushes, and it actually did a decent job, even with a more expensive device in the room. The cats used the DIY box pretty frequently, and the box was collecting hair passively. Now, the Paw Swing. Oh. Look at these tufts of hair. Oh my goodness. Unfortunately for my DIY boy, the Paw Swing caught significantly more fur. You can see the difference. The Paw Swing tufts are pretty massive. This is a month of what would have been on my sofa, floor, or somehow always in my coffee. I actually noticed the difference even before I opened the devices, because over the past 4 weeks there were significantly less hair on the sofa, especially in Rosie's usual spot. But while my DIY box still worked, the bionic tongue, however, did outperform it. So is the Paw Swing worth $200? Well, here's the actual answer, not the answer a sponsored video is supposed to give. It depends entirely on your situation. If you have multiple cats, especially a long-haired breed, in a small apartment where fur gets everywhere, yes, it can totally make sense. The time it saves you and the fur it keeps off your furniture, it can be worth it. If you have one short-haired cat who barely sheds and doesn't mind being brushed, you can probably save your money. Manual brushing is fine, and your cat probably enjoys the attention more anyways. But what I will say is that I started the experiment sort of skeptical and fully intending to win it. I upgraded my box, and I gave Paw Swing every chance to disappoint me. It surprisingly did not. At the end of the day, if you have multiple shedding cats and you've given up trying to control everything, maybe give the Paw Swing a look. Links in the description, and you can use TN10 for 10% off. Thanks again to Paw Swing for sponsoring the video. And if you want to see the original video where I built the $35 DIY cat automatic groomer, that's up on screen now. I'm gonna make myself a new coffee now.